Hi, nice to see you. My name is Phil Winder. I'm CEO of Winder.ai. I'm just doing a very brief live stream of a release we've just done of a new project that me and a couple of friends have been working on. I thought it was worth sharing on my channel. The project's called Helix, and the website is tryhelix.ai. So I'm going to walk you through some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that we had during the development and go through a couple of demos, which I think should be quite cool. So just to get started, I think it's probably best to start with some of the promo videos, and I can just highlight and talk through some of those. So let me just add all of this to my screen. Okay, so we've got one of the promo videos here. It's a very quick one, and it's quickly going through some of the use cases you can use Helix for. So Helix is a tool that allows you to very easily create fine-tuned AI, generative AI models. And all of these screens are just clicking through to show what you can do with it. So you can chat with it like you would a normal chatbot with a normal chat interface. We've got image models, we've got text models. But the key thing here is that you can directly fine tune it on your own data as well. You can simply take some of your data, drag and drop it onto the screen, and then start a fine tuning session, and away it goes. It'll automatically pull out the information, extract it. It'll automatically generate question answer pairs, and then you can go in and use it. One of the more sort of enterprise focused features of this is that the idea here is that you should be able to take advantage of private models by leveraging the underlying weights that you've trained. So we also have the capability of hosting this on your own infra, on your own hardware, because we think that private AI models are something that is not well served at the moment in the market. And so we think that business users and enterprise users will appreciate the private nature of the way that Helix can be deployed. But if you wanted to have a go right now without worrying about all of that stuff, you can go to uh, tryhelix.ai. Oh, sorry, let me share my screen. Apologies. I think it's that one. There we go. Let me just make that a bit bigger. There we go. So you can go to Try Helix AI and click on Try It or Create an AI, and it'll take you to app Try Helix AI. I'm just going to quickly log in and as myself. So that'll be one of the first things that you need to do is to create an account. It's register down here, new user. I'm going to use my one that I've already. And we've got a couple of examples at the moment, but just give you a bit of an overview of the interface here. We've got two main tabs at the top. We've got a creation mode. This is where you actually interact with your chatbot, and we've got a fine tune mode. This is where we go ahead and create custom AIs. Then in the drop down, we've got two types of model that we're currently using. We've got a text one, which is backed by Mistral 7B. And then we've got an image model that's backed by SDXL. Okay, so you can try it as a simple chatbot as you would like any other large language model. Let's click on one of these demos. I haven't done this before, so let's see how it works. Presentation. So what are we presenting here on a new product that makes easy for people to fine tune models. That's going to go away and spin up an instance of this model on one of the servers that we are hosting ourselves. We have a reasonably sophisticated orchestration layer to allow you to scale out to multiple nodes and control it via a dashboard in some administrative interface. And there we go. So it's spun up now and it's ready to start serving. And it's given me some ideas about how I can present this to you. I probably should have read this before I started the live stream, but hey ho, we'll run with it. Okay, so that is normal text mode, right? But the really interesting bit is when you start attempting to fine tune text. So I've got a few demos that you can view. Actually, let's have a look. Let me take you there now. So at the top right, we've got a button called View Docs, and Luke Marston, one of my friends who's been working on this, has done an amazing job at populating this documentation. So thank you so much for him. We've got a big demo video there, but what I'm interested in is having a look at some of these examples here. And if you have a look at these text fine-tuning examples, you'll see I mean, I'm a bit biased because I did them, but what I think are pretty cool demos. One is about generating insights from academic papers. Another one is creating some customer content personas. The third is gaining insights on some private Slack data, and finally analyzing website content. I think one of the coolest ones that I particularly enjoyed is this one, the custom content personas. So basically, what we're going to do here is one of the key things that I'm trying to improve in my business at the moment is to start proactively understanding what my customers need to read and like to read. And one of the ways in which we can do that is we can have a look at their social media profiles. So, for example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse to my LinkedIn page now, and hopefully you can still see this. Just checking. Yep. And I forget how we do this. We go on there, and then we go to activity. Here we go. Posts. How do we get to the... Oh, I want to see all of them. Show all posts. There we go. Right. This is all of my activity. Blank. All right, there we go. And I'm going to just go ahead and copy all of this text. Come on. Come on. Sucky LinkedIn. All right. Done. And then I'm going to go back to Helix. I'm going to paste all of that text there. Okay. Click add. Next step. So now it's going away and it's extracting all of that juicy information from that LinkedIn page. It's going to go and generate a wide range of question answer pairs based upon that data. The question answer pairs are in the format of a question and then an answer, where the question is things like, Phil wrote a post about, or what was the main theme of Phil's post on RL or something like that. And the answer would be RL in finance or something like that. And the goal of the fine tuning session then is to take the question and attempt to learn how to answer that question correctly. So that's the training data. It takes about probably it depends on the size of your data. If you have a reasonably small data set, it doesn't take too long, maybe a minute or so to generate all of those questions. And then again, it probably takes about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes to train the underlying, to fine tune the underlying model to generate a new model. If you've got lots and lots of data, then it can take significantly longer. So, for example, if you are passing in hundreds of documents, for example, you should expect it to take quite a long time to train your model. Don't worry if it's sat there for a while, because you might be in a queue if you haven't. You might be sat in a queue. But obviously, if you have any challenges or issues or questions, then you can reach out to us. One of the simplest ways is by clicking on this little button down here. And let's do that. I think it's Luke in the back end there. There we go. And I've sent him a message there. So you'll get through to us if you send that there. And in the meantime, we've finished creating that data. If we click on this file here, we can actually see the questions that have been generated. What was the title of Phil Winder's talk at Go to Copenhagen? My talk was called ChatGPT from Scratch. Perfect. And lots of interesting questions about that specific content. So now we can either edit the questions directly or we can start training. I'm going to mash the start training button. Honestly, don't know how long this is going to take because I don't know how many other people are currently using the system, but it will get there eventually. I think in the meantime, what I might do is just load up the video. So let me remove that for a second. The video, and what was the video? I think it was the persona content one. That's it. Hi, my name's Phil Winder. Oh, we've got a stereo Phil. There we go. Let me skip through the video. And this is kind of where I want to get to. All right. So now the model has been trained, then we can start asking lots of interesting questions about it. We've got questions like, what content does Phil Winder like to read? So it's learned the concept of Phil Winder because there's the word Phil Winder all over that text. And so that becomes a unique entity within the underlying model. And we can ask it specific questions about the stuff that Phil Winder has created. So what do I like to read? Obviously, it doesn't necessarily explain what I like to read, but it certainly tells me what I've produced. And so I think it's made an inference here to an inference between what I like to write and what I like to read. And it's saying I like to enjoy reading articles related to MLOps, ML, AI, RL, so on and so forth. Interestingly, it's pulled out a group. I'm not sure if that's a real group or if that's hallucinated, actually. Still very interesting. And then we can start using that information to give us some more actionable insights. Give me 3 example articles or titles that we could give me 3 titles of content that Phil Winder would like to share or read. And it's been clear that I like to share stuff related to, again, ML, AI, so on and so forth. Okay. What's the next questions? So we can also generate some sort of demographic-like information. What is Phil Winder currently working on at the moment? He's currently working as an independent consultant specializing in all of the topics above. And he's the CEO of Winder AI, correct? And yeah, a little bit more about content again. So you can see, actually, I'm just going to quickly check to see. No, the actual fine tuning is still going. It's about 25% done. So you can see from this that this could be quite powerful. I think that if you were to do this for real, then you would need to not concentrate on a single individual. You would have to try and broaden the initial data set to cover something that's more like a persona rather than an individual, and that might give you a bit more information. And you can use this to basically create better content for your readers. You can really help target that content to you can help target your content to a specific persona, which would ideally make them engaged, make them enjoy it, and make them think of you when they want to use the service. So that's one of the demos. We've got a few other demos. So let's remove that from here and go back to there. We've got a few other demos. We've got the insights from papers. The idea here is that we are going to pick up a couple of papers from arXiv, the public paper repository. Where is it? And the cool thing about that is that you can just simply paste in the links. So you see how in this screen, let me just create another tab. Oh, no, not that. There you go. Hope you can still see this. Let me double check. Yeah. In the fine tune tab here, I pasted text in the previous example, but you can also drag and drop files. So we could just drag and drop the PDFs directly, or we could even pass the links to the PDFs. And Helix is smart enough to go and download all of those PDFs and then convert them. And that's exactly what that demo is doing here. It's pulling the PDF links from this page here, and then it's going to download that and parse it and generate question answer pairs. And then once again, we can ask some questions of that content. So that's pretty cool. Similar sort of idea on the private Slack data and for the website content as well. Let's see how that's doing. 58%. Right. Whilst that's still going, I'm going to go on to the image-based demos now. So we've been talking a lot about models so far, but the other main mode is image models. So again, we can use this like a traditional generative AI chatbot-like tool, and we can ask the underlying model, which is SDXL, to very simply generate some images of whatever our text is. Just wait for that to happen. Okay, there you go. Perfect. Ooh, that does not look like a caterpillar's eye. That's quite scary, in fact. But also we can use the fine-tune mode as well with images. And here we go. So actually, I haven't prepared any images here. So what could I do? Right, the one thing I wanted to try actually was to grab some images from my website, some feature images, and see how it does. Because I'll let me just collect them together. Apologies. What can we show you in the meantime? Maybe I can just keep showing you that screen. I'm just going to go away on a different monitor and just collect a few images, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So there's one, there's two, there's three, there's four. So let's maybe get about 6 pictures. There's 5. And there's 6. Okay. So go back here now. I've got all of my images now, and I'm going to drag and drop them into Helix. Hopefully I can show you them after I've done them. You can't quite see that. Let's just open up a new tab. What I've just pasted into Helix is lots of these images. These are the feature, the feature images for all of the blog posts that I create. And you'll see that I tend to try and follow like a specific brand kind of guides where I've got, all of the text and stuff is in white. We've got a very distinct formatting of the font. We've got like a theme, and then the title, and then the description, and then in the background is usually an image that relates to whatever we're talking about in that thing. Okay, so I'm going to try and fine tune a model on that. So we need to so ideally. So what's happening here is we not only need to fine tune the image side of the model, we need to fine tune the so there's a part of a text to image model that converts the text into an embedding, and so you also need to make sure that you've got good descriptions of these images so that the fine tune knows where to put that image in its internalized kind of model. In its internalized model, that's probably the best way of describing it. I can't really be bothered to do that here, but maybe let's just put something unique here so I can actually refer back to it. So I'm going to say feature image, window AI feature image, and then let's just put something generic with beds, with chat, with brain, with chat again. Is that the same one? Same one. That's okay. With brain again. I've reused the same one. Oh well. Yeah, that'll do. And then with beds again. What? Oh well. So start training on that. And this is now running another fine tune, an image fine tune. All right, awesome. The original text fine tune has now finished, so we can start communicating with our custom model. So let's ask the same question again, just as a sanity check. What content does Phil Winder like to share? Let's double check you can still see. Yeah. Yeah. It looks like there's lots of other people trying it as well at the same time. You're going to scupper my demos, everybody. Or it's possibly because everyone's doing fine tunes. Oh yeah. Okay, that's one of the downsides of doing a live demo when you've just released something. As I know from experience, it can be quite hard to get things to work when there's lots of people using it. All right, fantastic. So we've now got a custom answer from this model. It knows who I am. It knows what I like to read. Fantastic. Right. So let me ask a new question that isn't in the demos. Let me think of something. Let's try and this might be quite hard actually because the models tend to have quite a hard time being succinct, and I'm going to try and force it to be succinct here. Be succinct. What is the overall theme? If you had to use one word to describe the overall theme of Phil's content, what would it be? Let's see what goes. Again, it's just getting queued again. But our image model has finally started, which is good. Right, I'm just going to rearrange my screens a bit so I don't have to keep switching tabs. See, it still couldn't do it in one word, but all right, that's not quite what I was expecting actually, but I guess it kind of makes sense. I certainly am advocating for the use of AI. It seems to have picked out RL over and above anything more generic like AI, which I think, given the content that I've maybe shared, maybe makes sense. But actually, no, that's a pretty good answer. I'm pretty happy with that. If you were, if you were trying to pull out the key themes of Persona just for like a simple sticky or something like that, then that's a pretty useful answer. I think what that tells you is that for me, anyway, for a persona like me, I do a lot more talking than I do sharing. So yeah, okay, makes sense. Let's double check on that. Okay, still running. All right. In the meantime, I'm just going to point you to. So we've talked a lot about tryhelix.ai and the app.tryhelix.ai. Another place that we're trying to push at the moment is Product Hunt. So if you feel like that this is quite cool and you want to help us share this idea, then you can go on producthunt.com and sign up and search for Helix. And you should, I think the URL is here. Helix 5 is the ID for this product. Yeah, you can go in and upvote it there. It'll be hugely appreciated. Thank you very much. What else have we got to show? Come on, image model. Go, go, go. Let's have a look at where's the architecture page gone? There. This is quite a good overview of the underlying design and architecture of Helix. So if you're a developer, you might be a bit more interested in this. If you're interested in running this locally, then you can certainly start checking out here. The code is also completely open. You can view the code on GitHub. The runners are effectively they're a small binary that act as a node to run the Helix jobs. So most of them are connected to, in fact, all of them are running on GPU nodes at the moment. With these models, it doesn't generally make sense to try and run them on a CPU. You could, but it would be quite slow. So they are all running in on GPU nodes. What else can we look at? Okay, I'm really interested in seeing this. So I'm just going to go and just pause that there for a minute. I'll pause my microphone. I'm just going to grab a drink and I'll be back in a second. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I also had some bread in the oven and it was beeping. So black bread now. All right, still training. So, what can we talk about next? Actually, let's just check if there's any questions. I forgot about that. Oh yeah, great question. So one of the things that we're battling with, and obviously this is just a first step. We've got some quite important plans to improve Helix over the upcoming weeks, and the question has just come in. Actually, I should be able to show this. There we go. Question has just come in. Asking when you would use fine tuning versus RAG, and that's a debate we've been having for a long time. So the whole aim of creating a bespoke model is to leverage private or unseen data in a way that's useful to your users. You can generally sort of narrow that scope down to several sort of different types of use cases. There's a bunch of use cases which are related to like question answering and summarization and analysis and things like that. And I like to think of those as like knowledge like tasks. You're effectively trying to instill knowledge into the model so that you can extract or analyze insight. So that's sort of one big group of use cases. The other group of use cases are more artistic, they're more stylistic. So the idea there is that you're trying to learn a style or a theme or something like that. And so that's like the first level that you've got to think of. Moving down from there, then you need to consider, well, how do we, so if we just take the knowledge-based use cases at the moment, how do we get the information into these models? And there's two main ways of doing that. The first way is to include information in the context window. The second is to try and instill that knowledge into the model itself. So the first one, trying to use the context and pass the information in through the context, works fine until, you get to the point where you can't fit your data into the context anymore. So when you get to that point, you need to start doing some optimizations to try and get around that context window. And actually, if you're interested in that subject, just started writing a series of posts on that on the Winder AI blog. Here, the problem with big data in small context windows. It's just the first two in the series, got a few more to come. But this is talking about why and when and how that is a problem. So if you can't get it into the context window, then you need to go through some tricks, some hacks to be able to get that in. One of the ways is to use a secondary database to query for relevant data and then only pass the relevant data into the model. Okay. The second way is via fine tuning. So what you can do is you can effectively nudge the weights. Let's try and use. I don't want to use technical language in this talk. What you can do is you can nudge the knowledge of your model in certain directions, and if you have new knowledge, new information, private information that hasn't been seen by the LLM so far, you can basically nudge the model in such a way that it starts to think about things in your domain rather than the general sort of web scale data set domain that it's been trained upon. The way in which it does that, as always, is for text models in particular, is that they're only attempting to predict the next word. That's all they do. They take a big long line of text and predict the next word. And by fine tuning, what you're doing is you are introducing new, more likely probabilities. So maybe before it was most likely that the fine tune would predict that the next word after fine, for example, would be weather. Okay, that's maybe a common prediction after the word fine. If we're just using, obviously there's a lot more context involved, but anyway, after the fine tune, if we're fine tuning it on something like an archive paper about LLMs, it would change the probabilities so that the next word is no longer weather, it's actually fine tune. Okay, so that's kind of how it's instilling knowledge in a sense, in a sense, and you can leverage that fact to do this. So question is, and finally, sorry, very long-winded question, long-winded answer here. When do you use the database version where you just try and stuff it in the context, and when do you use fine tuning? So that's actually quite a hard question to answer, and that's something that we're going to try and incorporate into Helix in the future. If you're interested, then I definitely recommend reaching out and asking for that and giving us some more details of your use case. But yeah, to answer succinctly, I think that if you can leverage RAG, if you have your data in such a form that it's very easy to query already, use RAG. Okay, if you've already got a database, if you've already got a nice structure of your data and you can feed it into a database, you already have a database there capable of connecting up to an LLM, then that makes a lot of sense, especially if you've got very question answer focused type use cases in mind. If people are looking for very specific answers on a subject, then it's great to be able to refer to the actual, the source, the raw truth. However, there are still use cases where fine tuning might make more sense. So one of them is that because you don't need to incorporate all of that context anymore, you can just ask the question. Remember, the knowledge is inherent in the model. That makes your context windows much, 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 much smaller. And so your token budgets, the amount of tokens that you're using to ask a question, are also much, 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 much lower. And that can have an effect on things like latency and cost and the amount of GPU used to generate a question. So that could be important for your use case. Another thing is that you might be asking more stylistic and analysis-like questions. And in those cases, the database approach, the retrieval approach, the RAG approach, is not as good in those cases because it hasn't had the opportunity to learn the underlying the underlying style, I guess. So if you have more stylistic type questions or general knowledge type questions, then fine tuning might make more sense. I think in reality, for many people, it's actually a bit of a toss up, and unfortunately, you have to try both to be sure that you have the right solution. Okay. So yeah, great question. Sorry about the long answer. Yeah, we've had another question saying exactly the same thing. I think I've answered most of that already, and the considerations to do both versus one or the other. Yeah, I think I talked about some of the sort of the key. I mean, it was just off the top of my head. It's not very well structured or anything. Should probably do it. I'll maybe schedule a webinar to do this a bit more in more of a structured way in the future. I gave some ideas about what you should be looking for, but maybe some other considerations. So I think one of the considerations is, um, yeah, we've already talked about how accessible the data is. Yeah, no, I think I've covered all I can cover for now. Let's leave a more in-depth discussion for another webinar and just stick to this for the time being. So just bringing it back to Helix, we've currently got support for fine tuning only, and in the future we are certainly interested in finding people that have use cases for retrieval based approaches. And so if you are interested in that feature, then I definitely recommend you reach out to the team and get them to do it. Okay, awesome. Right, our image model has now done. So, right, I'm going to, so there's a special token here that is used within the model, but I'm not going to use that just, actually, no, I will because I'll forget what the token is. So it's brackets S0, brackets S1. Okay. So this is just a random token that was not a random, a very specific token that's used to refer to these images. So generate generate a new image in the style of talking about fine tune versus rag. So we'll see what that does. And whilst that's going, I'm now going to under AI feature image. Just going to use some slightly more natural language to ask for what I want rather than having to use the S0 and S1. I'm just interested to see how well it performs. Cool. Well, I mean, garbage, but that's kind of what you expect. So one thing to bear in mind here is that SDXL and all of the diffusion-based models that are targeted towards images still do really quite poorly with text. They don't have any concept of what text is inside the model. They're just trying to create images, and the images, happen to look like text. Interestingly, it's got the general idea, the general font shapes correct. It's got the, this part at the top, which is in this different font. It's this Winder AI title, which almost looks a bit like Winder AI, which is interesting. We've got the title there, and then we've got the description at the bottom, which is in like this like Helvetica new type font. All right, so that was using the special tag to refer to those previous images. So now I'm just wondering whether we could use natural language instead. And you can see that it's actually not done quite as well on this. It's got the general sort of theme correct. You see how it's all sort of dark colors, black and white, stuff like that. But it hasn't really picked up on the fonts properly, or the structure, or the logo, or the background, in fact. So yeah, okay. So my recommendation for now, at least, is to leverage this special token S0, S1 if you're referring to the images. But you can see how we have just as a comparison, actually, let's just create a new session and just see what it generates without any fine tuning at all. It's always worth doing this just to make sure that the underlying, because sometimes what I've done in the past is that the models have been trained and scraped on huge amounts of web data, and inadvertently, it's picked up some of my content. The ChatGPT knows who I am. It knows roughly what I do because it's already scraped all of my website. So you've got to be a bit careful that it's not being biased by the underlying model, the foundation model. So in this case, we can see that the image is completely different. I mean, it's still black and white, which is interesting, but it's nonsensical. So I think we can be quite happy that the content that is now within this fine-tuned model is certainly more relevant than the underlying foundation model. Obviously, it's only a few examples as well. So, quick tip on numbers of examples here. So for a decent fine-tuning, it obviously depends on the task. If you're working on text, then we need in the order of ideally thousands, maybe tens of thousands of question answer pairs that cover the whole gamut of the topic that you're interested in learning in. So that correlates to, well, I don't know how many documents, but quite a large number of documents. Okay. For images, similar kind of idea. We need hundreds or ideally thousands of images to fine tune upon to really capture the style that you're interested in capturing. Obviously, you can do it with a lot less, but you need to set your expectations a bit lower if you're only using a few examples. Okay, so basically, rule of thumb, more data, more examples, better results. All right, I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to cover. I've been talking for about an hour now, so I think I'm going to call it a day. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling about this. This is brand new and just released just this morning. So if you're interested, go to tryhelix.ai and firstly try it out, see what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. So if you've got any issues, really what we're most interested in is trying to figure out what the ideal use cases are here. What should we be targeting? So if you could get in touch and talk a little bit about what you need, like what you're struggling with, what you'd like to do with it, even if it doesn't do it right now, that would be really, really useful information. And we'd thank you eternally for that. Check it out on Product Hunt as well. Help us just spread the message a little bit. And if you want to share anything, share this, that would be great too. All right, that'll do. Call it a day. Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate your time. See you later. Bye-bye.